Well, welcome back once again, all my intrepid classic dirt bike loving YouTubers, and thanks once again for tuning in once more to my video channel. Now, in this feature clip, these are just a few pictures I managed to grab of a very nice vintage machine at a Scottish classic race event I attended a few years back. So we're going to take a look now at Iain Clark's 1974 GP 400 Maico. Now, straight away, and before any of my subscribers start bombarding me with comments, this of course is not an original bike from 1974, but is a remanufactured interpretation of a 400 Maico from that year, which at the time was built by Maico Only here in the UK. Now, in the past, Iain had owned many different types of motocross bikes, and at this point he was looking for a machine that he could do classic racing with, and so eventually he commissioned Maico Only to build this particular bike for him. Now, the frame is basically your 1974 Maico chassis, which of course has then been painted and finished to look in this beautiful as new condition. Now, of course, also this bike has a replacement alloy swing arm. Of course, back in the day, these 74 Maicos would still have had the steel chrome molly swing arm. Now, the top and bottom triple clamps of course have been changed for these billet style triple clamps, of course made by Maico Only. But the front forks are your original items from back in the day, which naturally have undergone the Maico Only treatment to make them look like brand new items. Now, these suspension units were very good for their time, although not the best, but these suspension units did do their job very well for 1974, and as you can see, they're also mated to these very nicely polished up Maico hubs. Now, as you would expect, the motor of course has undergone the complete renovation treatment, and almost every single component on this engine is new, as you would expect. Now, naturally, it's a 400cc single cylinder piston port two-stroke motor, which if I remember correctly had a bore and stroke of 77 by 76 millimeters. Now, a 5-speed gearbox of course, with the usual primary chain connecting the crank to the clutch. Now, the original Bing carburetor has in this case been changed for this more modern Mikuni, which is more efficient, but I wouldn't say better, because the standard Bing did its job superbly on these original bikes. Well, these were very good engines back in 1974, and if you got the right rider on board one of these bikes, you could achieve some very good results. Now, these lovely alloy fuel tanks are again not original items from 1974, but are reproduction units made to the exact same specifications as the originals. And of course, these tanks are then polished so that you can just about see your face in them, and of course all the appropriate graphics and brand new fuel caps, etc. have then been added. Now, a very nice, comfortable looking seat, which once more has been totally remanufactured to as brand new condition. And I must admit, this lovely seat looks like a very nice place to park your backside if you were a motocross racer back in 1974. But of course the suspension was more important than having a comfortable seat, but nevertheless this was still a very nice bike to ride back in the day. Now, I'm not entirely sure as to what make of shocks would have been fitted to these 1974 machines back in that year, although Maico Only have opted to fit a pair of the very best classic racing shocks that you could buy possibly at the time, and these lovely Olins are about as good as you could get for a classic motocross racer. But very good suspension units, and certainly a pair of the very best. Now, as I mentioned previously, again a replacement swing arm made from very high quality alloy, and this swing arm could be possibly better, stronger and lighter than the original item, which was of course made of steel. And the alloy swing arm certainly complements the rest of this bike. Now, both the front and rear wheels again have been replaced by these ACR Talon alloy wheels, once again re-spoked with stainless steel heavy duty spokes. Now, when it comes to the exhaust system, this is a pattern copy of the original 1974 pipe, and of course you have to admit that it looks the dog's bollocks on this bike, but for the love of me, I still can't understand why anyone would want to chrome an exhaust on an off-road bike, and especially if it was going to be raced. Now, okay, I can see the point. If a bike was not going to be used for actual racing, then I suppose the shinier the better if it was going to be used as a concourse show bike, although there is absolutely no need in my mind to make a pipe in chrome if it's going to be used on the track. But then again, it's each to their own, I suppose. Now, the side panel plastics are once again reproduced units to fit onto this 74 machine. Now, between his initial ordering of the bike and then taking actual delivery of the machine, Iain only had to wait about 14 weeks before becoming the owner of this bike. Now, when it comes to the business end of the bike, all the controls, handlebars, cables, grips and levers, as you would expect, are all brand new parts. Not of course 1974 parts, you understand, but they do the job absolutely perfectly on this reproduction machine. Now, not long after Iain had taken delivery of the bike and then used it a few times on the track, he liked the bike so much that he immediately got in touch with Maico Only once again and promptly ordered a brand new 490 S1 Maico. Now, these particular pictures were taken at the bike's very first debut race event at a very wet and muddy Scottish Classic Scramble at Dunoon on the west coast of Scotland a few years back. Now, Iain was fairly impressed with the bike for its first time out, although there was a slight issue with the clutch slipping, he says, but that was more than likely due to these horrendous conditions that he had to put up with on the day. Now I'm sure this bike would win any award as a concourse show bike winner, and this new machine certainly has that wow factor. Although the bike is based around a 1974 GP400, it couldn't really be seen as a machine from that era, mainly because of the many pattern and upgraded parts that are fitted to the bike. Okay, many bits and pieces are near enough for it to be recognised as a 74 400 Maico, but for me, if I was spending the huge sums of money it costs to build these machines, I think personally I would go for an old original bike that would have some provenance as the years roll by. But don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the bike because it's not an original machine. Without doubt, it is a little belter and a certain head turner when it appears at classic motocross events. Although for me personally, I would still go for originality every time. And so there you have it. Whether you like it or loathe it, that's Iain Clark's quite nice remanufactured 1974 GP400 Maico. But finally, just before I finish, a few words on some of the bikes coming to my channel in early 2020. Now we have this TGM 125. Now this and 3 other bikes are brand new machines which have never ever been sold or even raced, and all of these bikes have never had a drop of fuel put through their engines. Now this lovely TGM 125 will be followed by this Italian Ancelotti 250, powered of course by the Hyro 250 motor. Now once again, this is another brand new bike that has never ever been sold from the showroom and has never even been fired up. Now the other bike we will be featuring is this lovely Puch 250, of course powered by that Austrian Rotax motor. Now this bike once again was never ever sold from the showroom back in the day and has never ever had a drop of fuel put through its engine. Now also we will be featuring this lovely Aprilia 125 motocrosser. This again was powered by the Italian Hyro engine, and this bike also was never sold back in the day and has never ever had a drop of fuel put through the engine. And finally we'll be showcasing this beautiful Italian Motovilla 250 from 1981. Once again, this is another brand new machine, and this and many other bikes will be coming to my YouTube channel in early 2020. So please subscribe to my channel so as you should not miss out on seeing these pieces of motocross history. This video was brought to you in association with Wolfsport, the world's #1 supplier for all your off-road and leisure sportswear. Just visit their online website or give them a call for more details.